This is the NA Happy Hour.
With some of the episodes that I've seen, especially the Burning Man one, where you were like, well, I'm telling mom and dad we're going to Burning Man, and that's what we're doing this year. And it seemed like such more than what I thought Burning Man was. Your description of it, where it's like it's more than just like, let's go rave in the desert, where you're meeting people, you're getting into the art, where you have the opportunities to maybe try some things you might not normally try, but if you don't want to, then that's completely fine. You're there to explore yourself, explore your humanity, explore relationships. So if you can talk a little bit about relationships.
What a great way to hit around so many topics.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm trying to
It's like,
keep
where
it
do I
open. I'm trying to give
begin?
a lot of talking points, so there's a lot to go off of. I'm trying to hit as much as I can.
Really front loading those questions, and we appreciate it.
Right?
All right.
You want to go?
Okay, so two
He'll
parts
go.
to this question. And to the relationship part, I think for us, something that has been extremely vital is learning how to work with one another. And we kind of hinted that earlier. And trusting that your partner and their different working style is exactly how they need to be, and to not try and micromanage them. And we both at times fall into this rigid sort of, this is how I work and this is how I would assume we would work, and it's just not true, because we both have such different working styles that they complement each other. But for us, it's just trusting that your partner has the best of intentions for you, and if you're working together, allow them to be them.
Yeah, I like that. And I also think that relationships are kind of about this little special connection in communication, boundaries, trust, love, affection. There's so many things that go into it, and you can really get into the nuances of it, but you do have to realize what works for you. And that's whether you're in a relationship or a friendship, and where the boundaries are set. And then also, specifically in our relationship, we are each other's primary. So everything else that happens around us, is secondary. And because of that, we want to always feel like we're on the same page and always in each other's corner. And that for me has been very important. Being married before, and just being in relationships that weren't successful, and knowing what I need most out of a support system. So for us, I feel like we communicate a lot, and having a podcast together definitely doesn't hurt, because we talk about stuff that is relevant to us and what we've done that feels successful. But at the end of the day, we really are just figuring it out as we go along. Like anyone else, we get into fights, we make mistakes, and we try to learn from them, and to always be progressing and forward thinking and how we can get better, and show up for other people better by being a better unit together. And Burning Man, okay, so I love that you brought this up, because it really did become such a huge part of our relationship, because the first night we met, we both wanted to go. And my cousin had been inviting me for years, and I was like, oh no, this is not my thing. I don't do drugs. No, and she was like, you don't have to do the drugs. She's like, you can go and have an amazing artistic, community experience, and just see what this entire thing is about. She's like, it gets a bad rap for so many, for good reasons, because the news reports events that are really crazy. But
you mean the media blows things out of proportion? No. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Can't be. Yeah, and the first night we met, we're like, we should go together, and we made that kind of pact and commitment, and we ended up doing it the first year, going, and new adventure for both of us. And we made it our experience. And I think that's so important, is to have conviction in saying, this is your life, it is your experience, and you need to give yourself what you need out of life, so that you can contribute and give back in your most authentic way. So
I don't think we did too many going was just experimental for us, and
Yeah.
we were like, how lame are we? We're walking, you're riding bike around the desert, and we're like, we have canteens of red wine. What the hell is wrong with us?
Like a canteen of water and a canteen of wine. We're like,
but
we are living dangerously.
Like I said, we live dangerously. And you're just not, you've never been to such an extreme environment with all this art, and there's such bizarre juxtapositions and so much energy from music to they have, what are they, like the Canada camp?
So like every camp, what's really cool about Burning Man is you have all this art, right? That's in the middle of the playa, and that's what everybody comes to see because it's so spectacular, and the man hours and craftsmanship that goes into it is just unlike anything you can imagine. But then the actual community which surrounds the playa it's basically a campsite, right? You have trailers everywhere, but then you also have some structures, and there are some sound camps at night that, you know, are like big clubs. But during the day, you can just go around and meet different camps. And there's this idea that there's a barter system, but it's not. Everything is free. You go and they're like, hey, nice to meet you. Who are you? And like, here's, you know, do you want some sushi? You know, or like whatever their theme of their camp is. It's all about like the human interaction, bringing your gifts, like what are you offering to people, and how can you be enlightened? It's just amazing. I miss it. This year it didn't happen, obviously, but I miss really connecting with people and not feeling like it's like there's a hidden agenda or something. It's like you are literally there to have a good time and make people feel good. And I love that.
Yeah. That episode of you describing it was like, I kind of want to go to Burning Man now.
I know. You just sold me.
You guys sold me to Burning Man. The only other impression of Burning Man I got was probably 15 years ago. We had some relatives of my mother come in and stay with us for a couple days, and they showed me Dance Immolation, where from Burning Man, where it's DDR, like Dance Dance Revolution, except if you're in a full fireproof suit. And if you misstep on one of the DDR pads, a flamethrower shoots you in the face with fire. And that was at one of the Burning Man years ago. And I was like, so going from that being the only impression I know of Burning Man to almost like the complete opposite of, well, there was that, and then everything the media makes it out to be. And then your guys' episode podcast of like what it meant to the bartering system and the genuine humanity and human experience that comes out in Burning Man. It's like, I've got to go and check this out. Like,
you won't regret it, and you will find that it is one of the most unique experiences you've ever indulged in, and it does kind of have a lawlessness to it. We did this roller rink our first year, and they set up a roller rink on the playa, and
they have a bunch of old skates. You just gotta find your size and grab skates and then go skate.
It sounds like organized anarchy. That's a
little
lot
bit.
of fun, pretty good people involved.
And for a week or 9 days of the year, that it's fun and it works.
It works until it doesn't.
and there are certain situations where, so we get on this roller skating rink and we hear a thud, and we look, and there's a gentleman lying down.
Don't tell this story.
I'm already committed.
Oh no!
We gotta go in.
And I'm like, okay, man, just get up. Like, you know, everyone falls. You know, Batman. You know, why do we fall, Bruce? To get back up. And I look, and there was a pretty good reason why he wasn't getting up, and it was because his ankle was completely 180 degrees in the other direction. And I'm like, oh, do not get up. Bruce, stay down.
Stay down, Bruce. We have we have Wayne Manor medical insurance. You don't need to get
acid.
There's medicine for this. Don't do long-term damage or any more than you already did. And that's just gonna happen.
But 2 seconds after that, you know, you have this like traumatic experience. You're like, oh wait, we are human. I forgot, you know?
Yeah.
And then you ride out into the playa, and there's a thing called the temple, which is, it's it's just this spiritual structure where you kind of go to release things that are weighing you down, or you can go to pray to your religion or whatever. It's not affiliated with anything, and there's just an aura about it when you walk in. It just feels visceral and emotional, and you go and write on the wall in there, or you release something like, I saw a wedding dress up on hanging up because there was a divorce, or something like that. And within 3 minutes, not even 30 minutes
30, yeah.
of
Almost
reading,
instantaneously.
there's just the most
Visceral, heavy.
loving messages of loss and gain and triumph, and people that have gone through addiction or just trauma, and there's a sense of shared trauma. And I think that is there's such a strong human connection, is just knowing we are vulnerable, we make mistakes, and nobody is perfect. And so there's something about it. So after we watch that happen, we go to the temple, and then we're like crying. And then
We were literally both in tears, not really knowing, because this was our first experience to which she's alluding, and we had heard that this was a very heavy place, and then you go and you do read these messages, and it just like you
Yeah.
feel it, you're transported immediately, and you hear about how uh, this is more than a festival. It's so shallow to call it a festival. It is an experience, and almost a metaphysical one, because you've never had anything like it, and it does force this deeper. I don't know what the word is. It's not connection. It's just a deeper experience.
deeper meaning.
And you read that when you go there, and like, for example, and I think I use this one on a podcast because it hits me in the heart. And there was this father. He had terminal cancer, and he brought his kids there instead of paying for treatment. And you realize how meaningful that is to people, and what an experience to have with them. And we just weren't excited, and it just kicked us in the heart.
Yeah. Still does.
Absolutely. I think I bet you like the coolest thing about it seems as though it's like it's a place where you can see how humanity really functions, or like how it was maybe set up to be, but in just normal society with all the stresses and all, like uh, because I think it's society, everyone, they don't focus on what they like to do. They always just do things that irritate them, and they don't end up doing what makes them happy. And it seems as though in this place where you're at, it seems like everyone's enjoying themselves because they're doing what they want to do. And then you get to see how just everyone functions with each other. And I like how you said with the Haley, when you said like the guy fell, it's like it's kind of like it's just life, like bad things happen. And it's just it's like a place where you can really experience all the experiences of what humanity and what life's all about. I think that's really cool. And that's what makes me really want to go, because it's such a well-rounded experience in such a small location.
Well, you have to make it that too. And there are plenty of people who've gone, and you can maybe, if you're into there are sober, for example, there are sober camps at Burning Man too, and I think that just there to counter the idea that people go there to do drugs in the desert, and there are so many people that don't. And I know there are people that do have bad experiences with it. So if you don't go in with the right mindset and know your limitations and know what's good for you and what's not, then you're not going to have a great experience. You hear so many bad trip stories about Burning Man, and that's because you probably shouldn't be doing that.
That's interesting. I didn't realize there were sober camps there as well.
There really is something for everyone there.
So
and
much
there's no
I need
age
to
limit
go
either.
there. I feel like that's got to be.
I didn't know there was camps. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was just one big old, pill. You know what I mean?
Burning Man 2021. I'll see you guys there.
Well, I'm
I
not
hope.
optimistic
I
that it's
hope.
going to happen, actually. But
I haven't heard it's canceled, so I'm assuming it's on.
That's the
Viruses
optimist
die in the
me, yeah.
desert. There's a temperature limit.
Facts.
Right?
Yeah, we're in the sun.
Right? It's just like the 6 feet thing. It's just it's 104, particles and stuff in the air. They don't function right? So.
And I'm sure those sandstorms that you guys talked about, like a sandstorm that came up. I think there was like I listened to that episode a while ago. It was like a sandstorm and a bus and then a known DJ party that
Yeah.
you walked into. There was a lot that was going on there, and I was really stressed from work that day, but I'm remembering like clips and bits of that episode.
We're in the middle of you forget that you're basically in the middle of this lake bed, and they get these massive sandstorms, and you can't anticipate it. And that's why the clothing, even though it's very cool and ostentatious and like just be creative and everything, that's great, but there's actually some functionality to it, because the rules that they not rules, but the things they tell you, you know, is you don't leave your camp without a mask, without goggles, without water, because
this is pre-COVID too.
you're in extreme conditions. And so we first trip out to Burning Man, we go out to the playa and we're just riding into deep playa, and the actual, I think the diameter of Burning Man is like 7 miles or 3 miles or something.
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's
yeah,
huge. It's like
gigantic.
Manhattan size. So that's why everyone goes on bikes, because you can't walk it. And you would not be able to see all of Burning Man in one trip, because there's just so much to see. So we're riding into Deep Playa, we get caught in a sandstorm, and it's like you get disoriented because you don't know which way is what. And then all of a sudden we like hear this music and it starts to grow. And then all of a sudden we see this church on wheels.
That's
like
what it was.
literally a massive church on wheels.
Yeah.
And it's playing like incredible music, and it's just going off, and there's nobody around. So we're like, is this a sign? You know, so we
This
go
is
up to
meant to
this
be.
church and we start dancing in the middle of the day, you know, completely sober. We're just, this is so cool. And it's like a great DJ set. And then all of a sudden more people start showing up, almost like a watering hole in Africa. Like everything just starts,
Oh my gosh.
all these animals, all these people start showing up.
Stragglers from out
And
the
huge dance party. And then we
Freaking
later
Lion
find out the
King,
DJ was
isn't it?
Skrillex.
That's
You're
what
not
it was.
supposed
It
to
was
know who the
Skrillex.
DJs are. Yeah.
But like it was one of those.
There's this thing about self-promotion. You don't promote your brand. You don't promote
Yeah.
yourself. And you just give everything for free.
It's like
Without-
everyone has a
without
gift.
intention.
So
And
Yeah.
everyone is there to be themselves. They're not there to get anything out of it.
Exactly.
They are there themselves to give what they can to
yes.
everyone else who's there.
And there's also, I think, in society, no matter what, there is like this, you know, there's a hierarchy, because it's like, who's more popular? Who has more blue checks on Instagram? Who has more followers? Who has this? Who has that? And when you got out to Burning Man, there's almost like everyone is here. Everyone has a special gift. Everyone is unique. And the idea of kind of stripping away those labels and not knowing whatever you work from, wherever you do, it's like you're not tied to your accomplishments or your financial value. It's you're human, and like be a part of it.
It is that, and they like to make a distinction. They give you like a Burning Man name or something.
Yeah, you get apply a name right when you arrive.
And you know, when you arrive there, if it's your first time, they'll be like, oh, "Is this your first?" They say, "Welcome home." Is this your first time here? And if it is, they don't make you do anything, but they're like, "Would you like to greet the playa?" And what they do is they encourage you to just roll
around in the
dust,
dirt.
because you're in for a week of just getting playa dust all over you. And you think that that's going to make it uncomfortable, but it actually doesn't.
That's so much more tame than the Rocky Horror virginity steps that have come up before. Like, have you guys done like Rocky Horror Picture Show at all?
No. I know of it, but
It's just like it's this movie that has like Tim Curry in it. It was done back in the like 80s or something. Complete cult following.
Yeah.
And
Susan Sarandon, right?
Yeah, Susan Sarandon. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And it's just one of those like, it's risque, it's out there, and if you're not part of it, there's everywhere in the country around Halloween does these like versions of it where they play the movie, but then they have live action, like people acting it out as well, and you participate in it. And if it's your first time there, you're considered a Rocky Horror virgin.
Yeah.
And to pop your cherry, each place it goes from mild to wild of like what you have to do to be initiated into the Rocky Horror like society and cult. Fortunately, when I got my cherry popped, it was not as crazy as some other stories I've heard, but that made me think of it with Burning Man of like, well, if this is your first time, let's get into it. Let's roll around in the dust. Let's welcome you to Burning Man. Here's the playa.
Yeah, just embrace the dirt.
Yep.
Embrace in dust we trust.
Yep. In dust we trust. That's awesome.